Don't you just love it when I start this thing and I don't tell you?
Yes, that was very helpful.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you.
Critique-Opolis is back. We kicked around the idea of we're trying to compress a lot into each episode, from our review to the Dailies review to all the recipes and the blacklist. We're gonna play around for a little bit with chopping it up and maybe doing an episode on Hollywood news, and then one with a movie separate, the blacklist separate. But don't worry, we're Hey Honey is still going to be throwing in a recipe with every podcast. So I know there's like 3 of you who tune in for these recipes. So don't worry, you're going to get the lion's share of cooking options. This week, I don't know. I went through the dailies. I picked out the things I liked. Most of everything that I'm interested in is in development.
Yep, same for me.
I mean, there's a bunch of news stuff about things who are being acquired and purchases that are being, they're upping their offers for certain
streaming services.
And like I don't want to say that's boring. It's just, it's every week. Like somebody's buying somebody else or somebody's selling somebody else. And it doesn't seem like, I haven't seen an acquisition in the past few posts of like maybe like really make my head spin off my shoulders.
Not recently, no, not at all.
Although, there is one that I don't know much about the South African market, but I found this interesting. Canal Plus made a takeover for African content leader MultiChoice.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was interesting too.
I've never heard of MultiChoice, but I thought Canal Plus was just a studio or was a production company, because they're offering north of $1.7 billion.
I think that Canal Studios is a production company, and I think Canal Plus is like an off thing of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking of Canal Studios because I see that as their bumper for some of their projects. But Canal Plus must be, I'm sure, like anyone
streaming
who's
and digital.
Oh, okay. Then
that's what I'm guessing.
You're probably right, because I'm like, there's no production companies that has that kind of juice.
No.
Who was the first one that jumped out at you in development? Because there was one that I saw, I'm like, they're going to scrap this movie? Because apparently Iger is like chopping a ton of Disney animation.
Oh, I read that detail in the dailies. You can speak to that first, because mine's later.
Coyote versus Acme, which was going to be a movie about Wile E. Coyote. And if to anyone from my generation who grew up with Looney Tunes and Bugs Bunny, one of everyone's favorite character was Wile E. Coyote, and how he was thwarted at every turn by the Roadrunner. And the Roadrunner had some kind of like backdoor deal going with Acme Industries, where they would just supply him like wholesale dynamite to mess with the coyote. And, and I assume that, I don't know if this was going to be, was this an animation or was it going to be a live action thing or an AI project or what?
Honestly, I'm not really sure, but I'm guessing animation still.
It's a bummer though that they're canceling it, because I'll just give you the broad strokes here. Warner Brothers Discovery faces backlash for publicly shelving. My apologies. The comment about Disney was right after this. Warner Brothers is who is publicly shelving. I should know Warner Brothers. Of course, that's Looney Tunes.
It's okay.
Shelving films like Coyote versus Acme. Disney CEO Bob Iger has pulled back the curtain on his own company's stealthy approach to axing projects. At some the high-profile conference, Iger revealed Disney's strategy for silently dropping projects they've lost faith in. But I couldn't believe that Coyote. I had read, in fact, I think I had commented about this Coyote versus Acme movie several episodes back.
It sounds familiar.
And that's just such a great concept for a movie. And they're throwing it. Well, they might not be throwing it away, but if they're shelving it, that just means it's going to sit in limbo for God knows how long.
Time, yep.
So that was a little bit disheartening to see what was on your. Well, actually, let's see if I can pick out.
Yeah,
you went through development.
Mm-hmm.
Did it have to do with Baywatch?
No.
Can't believe it. You were such a big fan of David Hasselhoff and all his chest hair. You weren't? That wasn't you?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh.
That was definitely not me.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was my guess. I'm gonna see.
I didn't even see that one.
It was about Community?
Nope.
Okay, mine is. What's yours?
About a new cast member on
Only Murders in the Building. Oh,
come on!
That should have been obvious. You even mentioned it to me earlier in the week. Go ahead.
Last week it was Eugene Levy.
Right. Go ahead.
This week it's Kumail Nanjiani. There's going to be a lot of people in that show soon.
We're going to have to get a whole new streaming service.
I wrote that in my notes, actually, that maybe I'm going to have to start watching this.
He was the one they put in that Marvel movie, The Eternals, and he was a comedian. He got all jacked for it, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
He was also in The Big Sick.
That I haven't seen.
Do you know that movie?
Uh-uh.
That was a great movie. You should watch it sometime.
Give me some details. Not everybody who's listening has seen it, so what's it about?
Probably the people that are listening have seen it. And if they haven't, shame on them.
Way to make just a blanket statement about our minuscule listening base.
Well, that's why I'm making it, because it's minuscule. So out of the 3 people that are listening, probably 3 or 2 of those 3 have...
I don't know what it is. What is it?
Are you one of the listeners?
Yes. What? No, but I'm saying, tell me, what is it? Because I haven't seen it.
The Big Sick?
Yeah.
It's, do you say autobiographical, based on his life and his meeting his wife? In real life, Kumail Nanjiani. So he met this girl at one of his comedy shows, or she was in the crowd heckling him, maybe. And after the show, they, sat down and had a drink and whatever, hung out and developed a relationship. And she unexpectedly, she is put in the hospital with some life-threatening, sorry, it's been a while, illness or disease or something. And she's in the hospital. True story? It's a true story based on their real relationship. And at the moment that she's put in the hospital, he's the only one who can sign some medical something, because her parents live out of town and there's nobody else. It's just her, and maybe her roommate could, but her roommate might not be in town. So anyway, they find his phone number in her phone, maybe, and ask him. And he even comes to the hospital and he's like, I can't do this. I'm not, I'm no relation to her.
They've only been dating a real short time?
I think so, yeah. Okay. Or maybe they fell out of their relationship, and then again they found his phone number, and so they called him or whatever. Anyway, it's what happens after that. He meets their parents. She wakes up and she's not happy that he's done all this for her, and I don't know. And
they end up together? What the hell? What's her problem? No, you gotta see it, Jay.
Honestly, I don't really. I mean, it was just I liked it. It was a good movie, and it's true.
You know how I am. I like to critique characters as if they're real people. Well, in this case, she is a real person.
Yeah. No, you can critique them. It's fine. It's just been a long time, so I really don't remember. But I know I watched it several times.
If I wake up in the hospital and Rich is there, and they're he says to me, well, they were going to pull the plug. They were going to let you die. Did they have to chop anything off? No. Well, why would I be upset about that? Did she wake up without like cut off at the knee or something?
No, she was fine.
I gotta see this now just so I can yell at her.
No, I think she was fine. But I think that she was upset because they had broken up and or were taking a break. I don't remember. And again, they contacted him and she was like, "Why did you
just learn to say thank you? She kept me. You kept me alive. I don't want to date you, but I'm glad I'm not dead. Thanks for coming to the rescue." It's not that hard.
Yeah, it was complicated somewhere in there.
Ugh.
But the parents really fell in love with him, I think.
Of course.
And so, how that goes, I guess. I don't know.
So
anyway,
they probably
I'm a fan.
Did they arrange their marriage?
They do not.
Oh.
But he did not tell his parents about her because she's a white girl.
She's a whitey.
And she is. And his parents are trying to set him up because, that's what Indian families do.
His parents are trying to set her up.
Set him up.
Set him up.
With an Indian wife. And he does...
Not a whitey?
Not a whitey, no. I can't believe I just said that. Yeah. So he does go on like a slew of dates with Indian ladies.
And he probably doesn't like any of them.
No, and they also are like, this is not for me. What are we doing?
What do you mean? Like they're not...
they're not into it. Like,
they're not into it.
Like some of them, they're looking for a relationship. They want a committed thing. They want to settle down, blah, blah, blah. Others are like, I'm not sure why our parents are connecting us like this because this is not what we want.
This is how
what they want for us.
Not every, but there's a lot of Westerners who look at that aspect of Indian culture and we don't get it. Mm-hmm. We don't get the meeting somebody, not knowing them, and the idea that you can grow into we have a mutual friend, somebody who I have dinner with on the regular. Mm-hmm. You know who I'm talking about, who even he's Indian. Mm-hmm. And I've asked him about arranged marriage, and no insult to anyone who's listening from out of the country that stands behind arranged marriages, but I don't have to apologize up front for this. This is just not something that's not in my wheelhouse, so I don't get it. But even he is like, I don't understand why my people do this. It's it's backwards.
It still happened. I shouldn't say it like that. It still goes on. What do I want to say? It's still part of the culture. It's still part of the culture. I mean, it was happening when I was in college. I had a really good friend, and that was her situation, if you will.
Like she didn't want to marry the guy?
No, she was in a relationship, and I don't know what happened to that relationship, but her parents put her in an arranged marriage. And
put her in. Does it sound like some kind of a convent? Or like she went to rehab?
But I mean, I just couldn't believe, I was like, oh, this is still okay, sure.
This friend of mine who has said to me that, I guess divorce is it's real. It's still kind of looked down upon in India, and he has a close relative who his parents arranged his marriage, and it didn't work out, and it was so bad that they split up, and the wife is between our ages, and she's like a pariah. It's people know that she's divorced. It's she's like, I'm never going to get married again.
Yeah.
So.
Wouldn't be my thing or way to go.
Well, that's the funny thing is I think at least from my perspective over here, that assumes that a parent knows their kid so well that they know it's going to be good for them. And I can't.
That's a really good point.
I can't argue with, because I know there's a fair number of them that work out. Mm-hmm. But if my parents were to pick somebody for me when I was 17,
no way. You would have been.
Oh my God! I'm like, dude,
to spend the rest of your life with, by the way.
No. There was You know, it's funny. I remember that there was a girl who actually I had a big crush on. She was a friend of my stepsister's, but she would come over the house. She was a cutie pie too, little Italian like fireball, and the old man would always make comments and be like, What's going on with you and Lisa? I'm like, nothing. Just not. Why do you even? He's like, you're not. And like he was like, I don't know if I'd say diplomatic about it, but he'd be like, come on, man. I'm like, no, that's of no interest to me. And as soon as I get within the walls of my high school, it'd be like, Lisa, who is a dish and a half, but like in front of my parents, it'd be like,
no.
But to know her as a person, she was attractive, but I'm like, it would never work out, ever, ever, ever. I don't know. I guess the relationship must be different than a lot of families, but I think there's a fair number of American teenagers who, I don't know, I just think at that age you kind of crisscross, your wires are crossed with your parents as far as what you think, what you want, and what you need.
Definitely.
Which kind of brings me to the next development point, which is not a movie I would see, like, given the option. But I just find it interesting that they've remade this 7,000 fucking times.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the one I'm talking about? Freaky Friday?
Oh, yeah, I did write that in my notes.
Oh, you did? Okay, so here's one that we cross paths on. There was, I guess it was a book like in 73, and I saw the original movie version, which had Jodie Foster in the kid role.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow, I remember when, yeah.
Dick Van Patten was in that too.
I don't know who that is.
From Eight is Enough. Oh my God, you weren't alive for that. He was like the everyman. Like, I like Dick Van Patten because he looked a lot like my dad. He had like the comb over and the bald up top, but like the comb over, and he was like everybody's dad. If you should look him up. Look up Dick Van Patten. Okay. And I'm sure you've seen him in other things, but his heyday was kind of like mid to late 70s through the early 80s. He was in just a ton of stuff. But yeah, then they.
Oh yeah, we've looked at him before.
Yeah.
He was the dad, or who was he?
In Freaky Friday, no, he was the dad's boss.
Oh, okay.
And the dad was, I can't remember that guy's name, but actually look up Freaky Friday, the one from 76.
Yep.
I've seen him, he was in a bunch of stuff too, but Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are apparently going to do another run of this. They had, when was their first one? Like in 2003?
That sounds about right, yeah.
No, they're coming back to reprise their roles. They're just going to be like an aged versions of their, like Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be the grandma, and Lindsay Lohan.
Good, 2003.
Lindsay Lohan, once she gets off her most recent coke bender, is going to be, the middle-aged mom. And when they swap, like Jamie Lee Curtis has to deal with, she has to be like a helicopter parent, but with an old person's mentality, a senior person's mentality to like a millennial. What generation is that? That's like 10 years old now, whatever that is.
I don't know. I have looked up the generations
Q,
before.
Whatever,
yeah.
Gen Q or whatever it is. It's funny to even be talking about it because this is not a movie I would see, but I find it. I like
the Freaky Friday that came out in 2003. It's fun.
Well, yeah, and you probably wouldn't.
That's like my year for that movie or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Could you sit through a movie from the 70s?
Yeah, why not?
Just because, like, for me, it would depend on the movie. And
I think actually, yeah, it would depend on the movie, but I would definitely give it a shot. Like, I would try it.
It'd be funny
I
to
think
just to see you.
A Freaky Friday.
Yeah, because like all of the effects, they didn't have, like, the effects don't even compare with what we have today. So I remember.
That's a really good point. I have watched older movies and been like, oh my goodness. But anyway, I'm sorry.
No, they like, I think they wished on a fortune cookie or something to switch places, but they make I think that was in the one in 2003. I can't remember what the prompt was for them to switch bodies in the 76 version, but they said they made the wish at the same time in like different locations. And I remember this, they had a split screen with the mom on one side, Jamie Lee Jodie Foster on the other, and they just alternated these pastel colors and flipped the negatives, so it looked like you were looking at a negative of the character.
Yep.
And they just alternated colors back and forth, and that was supposed to be the.
Oh my gosh, I want to see it so bad now. Because it would just be so funny.
It was even at the time, I saw it in like 86 and being like, oh God, this is really corny. But
it was John Astin. Does that name sound
familiar? The dad?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, let's see him.
Okay, well, hold on.
He's been in. Weren't you just looking at him?
Yes, but I went to something else and I have to save that.
Oh, come on. You gotta open up multiple tabs, kid.
I have multiple tabs open.
John Astin.
Here, look.
I'm doing it.
Fine. We'll both have the same thing on our screen.
Wait a minute, I have a picture. What do you have?
This guy, he sort of looks like the Monopoly man.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. Well, he does now. He actually had dark hair in 76.
Okay, good point. Yeah, sorry, John. He, no, yeah. I wonder if he's related to Sean Astin.
It would tell you in there.
And Barbara somebody was also in the
Streisand?
No. Norris? Is that the name I just read? Somebody? Barbara in the Freaky Friday from 76.
Well, you got to remember, I only saw it once.
Okay, that's okay.
And that was in 86.
So many things to look up. My mind is like...
Do we have... I know we weren't going to spend any real time talking about this because you didn't see it, but what?
It says that Astin has been married 3 times. His second wife was actress Patty Duke, and Astin is the adoptive father of Duke's son, actor Sean Astin.
Oh, look at that. La-di-da, who would later go on to such film greats as Scent of a Woman. That was Sean Astin, right?
John Astin?
Sean Astin.
In Scent of a Woman?
Who was the kid?
Yeah, probably.
You can do it.
There's so much going on here. I can't.
I'll bet you that was Sean Astin.
For everything.
Scent of a Woman.
Okay, well, it says he had a notable role in West Side Story, so that's
that's Chris O'Donnell. The kid was Chris O'Donnell. I thought it was Sean Astin. No, he was in Rudy. That's who it was.
Sean Astin?
Yeah. Rudy.
Okay, good job.
I was going to talk very briefly about Dune. Go see it. That's all.
Okay, thank you for that brief conversation.
Yeah, no, it was...
brief review. Recommendation.
I was kind of surprised at the way it ended because I thought that was going to be it for his... We talked about this a little bit. I was just... the way it ended, it just left it open for them to do a part 3, and I didn't think he was going to do part 3. I thought he was just going to close out the book. And the next book is Messiah, or Dune Messiah. And I have not read the books. I've just read enough synopses or enough Cliff Notes to know the flesh work of the story. So I was surprised to find out that they had been planning on a part 3 on the contingency that 2 did well, and it looks like 2 is just raking in buckets of cash.
Yeah, huge buckets of cash. Sorry, I had a comment, but it's not related to that. So,
what else do I have to tell you about? Oh, Kevin Spacey's getting back in the mix.
I saw that. I didn't comment on that because that's what I had to say. Like, I thought we were not okay.
We were not what?
Like,
we don't like him because
we didn't like him anymore.
Perv.
Yeah, and we're not welcoming him back. But apparently,
yeah. But you see, this is how there's always an angle. He's doing this movie in Italy, where they love pedophiles. Just kidding, Italy.
I didn't read the Italy part.
Yeah, that's his.
I see.
He's doing. Let's see if I have it up here. I do have it ready. The contract. Oh, and coincidentally, he's playing the devil, which is kind of a subverted way for him to get back into acting. They're like, all right, I'll tell you what.
Interesting.
We'll let you have a job, but you're going to play the king of the most deplorable pieces of shit ever.
And we hope you're ready to be in Italy for a while, because no one...
Yeah, tough sell, I'm sure. In the contract, Spacey plays a character named the Devil, which, according to the statement, is somewhat akin to Al Pacino's role in Devil's Advocate and Robert De Niro in Angel Heart. And I know he's a dirtbag, but I think this is just kind of comes with the territory, as I can read, with the exception of maybe Roman Polanski. There's a lot of people out there who I'm not a fan of what they do in their personal life, but I like them on screen.
Yep,
I can differentiate. And some people can't. Some people that guy did so-and-so, or, he smacks his wife. I don't want to, man, yeah, okay, yeah. As a person, total piece of shit, but makes good movies. I mean.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think it's kind of a personal question. Some people can get past that, some people can't. It will be interesting to see how, I think this is not his first foray back into film or television. He had a voiceover role in Gene Falazzi's indie thriller Control, and if you look at that, I do recognize that I say too much on this, but
I've honestly never noticed, but okay.
I notice every time I do it. His entrance back into the movies, I think, from what I'm reading, is pretty calculated. He starts with a voiceover. Then when he's going to be back on camera, he does it with an independent movie in Europe.
I would agree with that comment.
And based on how well that does, he'll slowly slide back into...
Yep.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Well, he wouldn't go to TV because TV's kind of going away, but I'm sure he'll go to all streaming movies.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I wouldn't. Yeah,
he's not going to be back on. He's not going to go back. I would be stunned if he went back into actual. He'll do theater, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be harder, don't you think? You'd actually have to be in front of people.
I do wonder about actors and actresses who either do, film first or do theater first, or, the other way around. It's very interesting to me. But a lot of people get their start in theater, and do plays every night and branch out into movies, or get well known in movies and then go back and do more theater. It's interesting. I don't know. It would be interesting.
You know who I really enjoy as a comedian is Louis C.K. And yeah, he had to dust up in his personal life,
That's
which
right.
I guess happened either at a hotel or a comedy club. But he didn't overtly touch or assault somebody. He asked for permission before he did what he did, and it's just viewed with some disdain, with
sort of blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I think it bothered women more just because it's a bit lewd, but it didn't stop him. He took a break from working, but then he had material, and comedians work out, but he worked out for a year or two at smaller clubs. And yeah, I just can't get behind the idea that, people there's different levels of screwing up, mind you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But there's some
levels.
Louis C.K. I think is a great example. I'm like, yeah, he did something maybe a little bit lewd, but he apologized for it, and he didn't assault somebody. I don't think he should be denied a career. Spacey, though, and again, this is just my opinion. I don't know about denying. I don't think he should have his career denied, but what I do think the benefit of him getting called out is, like, nobody can claim any illusions about what it's like to be around that guy or to work with him.
Yeah, that's true.
It wouldn't surprise me in the least if he doesn't have a lot of visitors to his trailer when he's shooting a project.
Yeah.
I had one more on here. Actually two. What ones did you have that we didn't talk about?
I wrote down a note about Adam McKay directing a movie called Greenhouse with Amy Adams and Sam Rockwell.
What's that about?
I don't really know, and there wasn't a lot of information. It's just that those names are all connected
I bet you
to a
Sam
future
Rockwell,
project.
Bet you Sam Rockwell's going to dance at some point in that movie.
He might. Amy Adams could dance too in that movie. She could sing too.
But I mean, that's Rockwell's thing.
That is
pretty much every movie he's in. He's river dancing it like.
I would watch this movie. I mean, I guess it depends what it's about, but those are good actors actors that I like. So.
Yeah, he can do no wrong. I've liked him in pretty much everything I've seen him in.
I think a lot of people are fans.
Yeah. Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson going to be in a movie called Mercy, which I couldn't really glean that much about what it's going to be about. Yeah,
that's how I felt with Greenhouse. There wasn't a lot of information.
The article about it was just like so and so is directing, and these are who the producing partners are, but like. Excuse me, the details on the plot were kind of thin. But if you like Pratt and Ferguson, keep your ear to the ground for that late next year, or late into this year, excuse me. Kevin Spacey, Ferguson. Oh, I haven't watched all of the seasons. But have you ever watched Community with Joel McHale?
No, I have not.
So that show's pretty funny. It's got a lot. They've made I can't even tell, 6 or 9 seasons, a ton. And apparently it's getting a movie now. It's on
where
Netflix.
On Netflix, okay.
I'm very sure.
Netflix
or Hulu.
I might like sort of know the name, but that's it. Okay. I'll look it up.
Definitely funny. And Joel McHale has been, he's a pretty good stand-up comedian. What else do I have? Oh, I could give everybody a recipe before I forget about it.
Okay, you could do that. That's fine.
So I want you to bear with me, folks, because this one is going to be a little breathy. But the photo I found for this thing looks delectable, and I'm usually not a fan of meringue.
I was going to ask if it was dessert or dinner or what it was. An appetizer. Okay.
Total dessert. Cranberry pie with honey meringue.
Sounds very intriguing.
You got to see. I don't have a picture of it up on J Hey Honey on Instagram. I do not. But I'll try to put one either in the newsletter or I'll see if I can get one up there tomorrow. But for any of those interested, when you get to the honey component of this would work with the raspberry or the strawberry honey or just straight clover and wildflower. Actually, I might suggest if I have any of the mango blossom left, it might be worth picking that up. You can get all these at, as always, this is brought to you by Hey Honey, HEY honey.biz. So again, it's going to be a little breathy because there's a lot to it. Usually I don't do recipes that are this long, but...
Just a side note, the pictures are really gorgeous.
Yeah, right? It looks good, yeah?
Yep.
20-ounce fresh or frozen cranberries, thawed if frozen. 1 cup sugar, 1 cup orange juice, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, a teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of clove ground, pinch of sea salt, 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, room temperature, 1 this is 1 recipe Aaron's gingerbread, all Buddha pie crust, so just pie crust, pan baked and cooled. 1/2 cup of honey, 1/3 cup of sugar. Wait a minute, didn't they do that twice? Oh, I guess the first part was for the pie filling.
One is for the meringue.
But they didn't split it. So this is for the... I don't know why they did it like this. This is odd. I think this is...
These are the ingredients for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read them all because it doesn't differentiate if one is for the pie crust or if you buy the pie crust separately, but it has 2 different entries for sugar. So the first one's 1 cup of sugar, and then later on it says 1/3 cup sugar, 4 large egg whites, pinch of ground cinnamon, generous pinch of fine sea salt, 1.5 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 1/4 cup all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup teaspoon fine sea salt, 1/2 cup unsalted butter cut into 1/2 inch cubes, and 1/4 cup of ice water plus more as needed. Okay, so bear with me. Now for the filling, in a 4 to 5 quart pot, you're going to combine the cranberries, the 1 cup sugar, orange juice, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, and salt. You're going to cook over medium-high until the mixture comes to kind of a simmer. You got to stir it constantly. That kind of goes without saying, but I'm just telling you so you remember. Reduce the heat to medium-low. Continue to cook for 15, 17 minutes, somewhere in there, until the cranberries burst into and mixture thickens a little bit. Again, keep stirring the butter, and then let it cool completely. Place an oven rack in the lower third of the oven. Preheat to 375. Spoon in the cooled filling to the pie crust and bake for 30 to 35 minutes. Just leave the light on and check it, or until the crust is golden brown and the filling is bubbly. Again, let it cool. For the meringue, in a large heat-proof bowl, you're going to whisk together the honey, the 1/3 cup of sugar, the egg whites, cinnamon, salt, and vanilla. Let the bowl over a large saucepan, put the bowl over a large saucepan of simmering water, and just be careful that the bowl doesn't touch the water. Okay, cook, whisking constantly for 8 to 10 minutes or until the mixture reaches 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Use a mixer with a whisk attachment. Whip the mixture into medium stiff peaks. If anybody has any experience making meringue, this should be like old hat to you. This is for the people who haven't made it. You're going to pile the meringue on top of the filling, and then, as desired, toast margarine with a kitchen torch. If you have that, it's not vital or necessary. Medium bowl, you're going to whisk together the flour and the salt using your hands. Toss butter through flour until each piece is well coated. Cut the butter into flour by pressing butter between your fingers and thumbs. Anyone who's made a pie has done this before. Flattening the cubes into big shards. For a flaky crust, you're going to mix until the butter pieces are about the width of walnut halves. And then for a sturdier crust, or for custard pies, mix until the butter is about the size of peas. Thanks for holding on. We're getting there. Make a well in the center of the flour mixture. Add a quarter cup of the ice water, and tossing in the flour gently rather than stirring to moisten and incorporate the water without overworking the flour. Continue adding water 1 to 2 tablespoons at a time. Form the dough into a disc and wrap tightly in the plastic wrap. Refrigerate for at least 30 minutes and up to overnight. Once it's chilled, roll out the dough on a lightly floured surface until it's about an 8-inch thick. Press firmly and evenly, rotating the dough as you work to prevent sticking and without adding too much flour. As you transfer the dough to a pie plate, starting at the end of the dough, wrap it around the rolling pin. Lift the pin at the edge of the pie plate to unfurl it, to unfurl the dough. You're going to press the dough into the base of the pie plate and trim excess dough. Again, if you've made a pie before, you're form fitting it to the edge of the plate and then tucking it to be flush with the outer rim of the pie plate. You're going to crimp the edges using a fork, and then and you're going to refrigerate that for 30 minutes. To par bake, you're going to use a fork to pick chilled crust all over the base and the sides. Cut a square of parchment paper slightly larger than the pie plate, and then press it into the base of the chilled crust. Fill the crust with pie wedges to brim, making sure the weights are flush against the sides. Place the pie plate on a parchment paper-lined baking sheet. You're going to bake the bottom of the rack at 425, 12 to 15 minutes, or until the outer edge begins to brown. Remove the parchment and the pie weights and bake 2 to 3 minutes more until the bottom appears set. If the crust puffs at any point, prick an air bubble with a fork to deflate it. Otherwise, it's going to malform. Cook completely before filling. This is going to make one single crust. So if it seems like it was a little involved, that's just how making a pie is. Pie can be made up one day ahead up through step 4. So it's best to add the meringue before serving. The meringue will hold for up to 2 hours. If you don't have a thermometer, or just for extra security, use the whites from whole eggs. Make dough, wrap it tightly, and refrigerate for up to 2 days. This isn't the kind of pie that you're going to set out on a windowsill, because it's going to get the heat from the sun, especially if you do this in the sun. The summer is going to make the meringue kind of dissolve. But if you can follow all that, I think Louisa will second me on this thing. It looks delicious.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
But I'm not making this.
You're not? Okay,
No.
well.
No, because it's March. What else didn't we cover? Oh, no, we're going to talk about, but this is next time. We're going to talk about, we're going to do a blacklist on.
Oh, okay. Yes, my movie that we are casting is called Mr. Benihana.
That is for next time, though. For right now, I need a nap. So look for Benihana next week. Hugs and kisses. Toodles.
And also
what?
on Sunday are the Oscars.
Oh, you can talk about that because I'm not going to watch them.
Well, I mean, I don't really have much to say except that I really loved that evening. That's very fun.
Who's up for, not that, like everybody else knows
Oppenheimer
this.
will probably do very well, as it has done in previous award
God, I
shows
thought
this
Barbie
year.
was going to sweep.
Not so much.
What do you mean?
It really hasn't. And when the Oscar nominations came out, one of the things that people were really upset about was that Greta Gerwig did not get a nomination.
Oh.
The director of Barbie. Don't. That is sad.
Greta, you know it's just a big popularity game. You got a big fat check.
I love her. She's great. And I think that might be everything. But mostly I just want to see what everybody's wearing.
Okay, so let's just cut to the chase. That's
It's about
why everyone
fashion.
chooses. That's why. That's another thing that we can mention. Our buddy Little Miss Ulster fashion icon from.
Oh, that's so nice.
From New York passed recently.
Iris Apfel. She was 102 years old.
Louisa and I connected on as our friendship budded. I didn't know who Iris was, but I saw an Instagram post on her, and I just loved how she was this little old lady who wore outrageous, super fashion forward clothing. And I mentioned her. I don't know where we were. I mentioned her on an aside, and you just lit up. You're like, "Oh my God, it's Iris! I know all about her." Oh. She's 1,000,000 years old.
She is. She
well,
was.
not anymore.
Not anymore.
But rest in peace, Iris. You had style. And
She
grace.
made a mark for sure.
So, are we covered? We're good?
We are covered. We are good.
All right. Benihana next time.
Yes, Benihana next time.
Toodles.
Bye.